Hi guys, I thought I would do a video here. I'm going to do a couple on how to restring guitars for novices. A lot of you folks might have got a guitar for Christmas and you're probably going to play the same strings forever because you might be a little nervous about how to go about changing strings. It's not that hard, it's easy actually. So some of you folks watching, probably veterans, been changing strings, working on guitars for years. This video won't help you much. But for the uninitiated, I'm going to try and put it in a manner that somebody who's never done this before can find helpful. Okay, well, hang on one sec. Okay, what we're going to do today is a Gibson style stop bar tailpiece, and there's a two-pneumatic bridge. This is a very common setup for many guitars. It's a Gibson thing. They've been doing it since day one with their electrics, and it seems to work fine. Very simple. The bridge is here. Strings go over the bridge into the tailpiece, which is held down by great big screws and holds it in place. And that's what we're going to do today. This is a 1980 Gibson 335S. Basically what it is a solid body version of an ES 335. Gibson did for a couple of years back in the day. So that's what we're going to start with. So hang on. Right, a couple things we're going to need. One is a decent set of nippers. This is for cutting the strings, obviously, and removing the old ones. Another thing that I like to bring in is a little socket, and you'll see what this gets used for shortly. But if you can get one, get one. This is a 10mm, I believe. Yeah, 10mm. So little socket's good if you have one. Great. If you don't, you can work around it. And of course, set of strings, D'Addario 11 to 49s, string gauges. It depends on your personal playing preference. I'm not going to get into all of that here. I would suggest just doing a Google search or YouTube search for electric guitar strings, and you'll find a ton of information to help choose your strings. And set of specs, because I'm blind. And that's about it. So let me get set up here and we'll get started. Alrighty, we're ready to go. First thing we want to do is detune a little bit. You have to crank it all the way down. And what I'm going to do is the one string at a time method. I find that very, it's easier on the guitar, because what happens if you pull all the strings off, the neck has a truss rod in a metal bar, about a foot and a half long, that keeps the neck straight, and it's adjustable to adjust the amount of bow on the neck. So if you take all the strings off, the neck's going to go blah, like that. Not that much, but you know, it's going to bend back a little bit. And then all the strings, when you put the new strings on, are going to have to pull to try and get that neck back straight again, which means you're going to spend all kinds of time tuning and retuning to get it back up there. So we're going to do one string at a time, which I think for the novice is the best way. It makes things easier. And yeah, so what we're going to do is detune a bit first. So we'll take the first string, or actually the sixth string, the low E, and just give it a couple turns so that there's a little more slack. And we simply cut the string. Pull the end out like so, and unravel it from the other end. Tie it up and dispose of it. Let's see. So that's what we do with that. Now we open up our pack of strings. When you rip open the bag, use pliers or whatever, just whatever's handy. Do be careful not to cut the string, because that would suck. Okay, so I'm going to pick out the big E, which is this one. D'Addario strings are good in the way that they have ball ends that are color-coded, so you can't lose track of what's what. Right there it says on the package. First is silver, second is purple, third is green, and so on. So That way you can't really get confused on which string is which. Okay, now we have a couple ways of stringing the bridge, and we'll get to that in a moment. All right, what we do is you can put the string through straight like this. I'd like to put a little bend on the end like that so that I have a little upswing. So when I push it through the hole, I got something to grab onto and pull it through. So you can do it that way. This is the common way. This is the way you'll find your guitars come from the factory, with the ball end here. Or you can do it this style, where you wrap around, you go over the top, or you put the ball end in this side actually, and then it comes out and you wrap it over. Wrap around style. Is there any difference in the sound of your guitar? It depends who you talk to. My humble opinion, no. I can't hear any difference. That's just me. So, but I prefer this way. One, because I like the way it looks, frankly. And two, what it does is that you don't have quite as much of a string break here. The string break is the where the string bends over the saddle, and it won't bottom out on the edge of the bridge, which happens sometimes if you have it string going all the way down into that hole. With some setups, the string will actually touch the edge, which could cause breakage. So I like this way myself, but it's really a matter of personal preference. You can do it whatever way you like. This is the way I do it. So yeah, so anyway, make sure the ball is settled in there nice and tight, and then make sure your string is set in the saddle, and then we'll go down to the other end. Hang on. Right, got the neck down here. Here's the loose string, and here's the tuner that we're going into. Okay, so what we have this for now is to make sure these nuts here are snug, the nuts that hold the tuners on, because they do like to work themselves loose over time. And then this washer here start to vibrate. It'll drive you insane because you won't be able to tell where it's coming from. So just put your socket on there, knows the old furnace is coming on, and then just give it a little crank. Hand tight, that's all you need, like that. You don't want to go too tight, and that's it. We're going to do that with each one. Okay, so bring the string down, make sure it's seated in the bridge, and then we put it slot in the nut. Okay, now I have a special technique for this. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can put the string through the hole, bend it up, and then go crank, 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 or use a little winder to wind the string up. I don't like doing that because that's too much like work. So what I do is I take the hole, it's right here in the shaft. I make sure every one of these is pointed in the same direction as the nut. So it's a nice straight line for the string to go right through, down and in. That way I know where it is. And then what I'll do is I'll put the string in the slot, make sure it's in the bridge, and I will take the string and I will wrap it around. For the big strings, 1.5 times. Just hold it in place with your thumb, and then it's a tricky bit. We push it in the hole, it comes out the other side, shove it all the way through, grab it, pull it nice and tight, bend it up. Now we just have to do a few turns to get it tight up to pitch. And one other thing I forgot to mention, you're going to need a tuner as well. I'm going to cut off a little bit extra. You don't need that much flopping around just now. You're just going to put your eye out with it, and that's not good. So, and what we do, check again, make sure it's in the bridge, and then we simply bring it up the pitch. E, there you go, up to pitch. That's it. And then you give it a stretch. You're doing this up and down the thing a couple times. You don't swing on it like Tarzan. You don't want to break it. You just want to put a little stretch in it. And then tune it up to pitch again. And there you have it. Okay? Hang on a sec, we'll do one more string. Right. Right, just nip it off, push it through. And unwind it from the other end. There. That's that for that one. Just tie it up. And discard. Okay. Now take the next one, which is conveniently marked with a red ball, so we know it's the 5th string as per the package. Okay, so same again. I'm going to go with the underside, but if you want to go this way, that's cool too. That's the way Gibson does it from the factory, so maybe you want to stick with that. Most guitars you buy brand new, you'll see them strung through that way. But again, personal preference. As far as tuner goes, you don't need to go out and buy a fancy tuner, especially if you're just starting out. On your phone, you can download a tuner app, guitar tuners. There's lots of them out there. You can download an app, put it on your phone, and then just open up the app, put the phone in front of your amplifier, and tune away. It's as simple as that. I have one on my phone. It works great. I have a desktop one. It's a big, long, skinny one called a rack tuner that I use on my bench. That's what I'm plugged into now. But the app would do just fine as well. Some of them are very, very accurate. Okay, so there we go. We have it through. Give me a minute. I'll move down and we'll do the other end. Right. We'll get our socket and just a little turn. That's good. These ones are tight because I check them every time I do this. Sometimes you'll buy a guitar, used, new, whatever, and you go to check them and they're all rattling around loose. Just the way it is sometimes. So, we get it in the slot, we get it into the bridge, bring the string up, the hole is pointed forward, then we go 1 1/2, and then push the thing through, holding it with our thumb, we pull it nice and tight like, and up, and then we just turn it to pitch. And bring it up to A, G sharp, A, and give it a little stretch. Back up, pitch. There you go. You'll have to do a few more stretches after you get all the strings on, but that's the general idea. You cut off a little bit of extra here, and that's it. Just as a side note, what you're looking at here, this little brass thing, that's the nut for the truss rod that goes through, the metal truss rod. With that is a special little wrench, which I may or may not have. Here it is. This here. Special little wrench you can get, a little socket that goes on, and you can adjust it back and forth in order to tighten or loosen the truss rod. Lesson for another day, but just that's what that's for. Some of them will have a hex key, like an Allen key, or some of them are like that. So that's what that is, just in case you're wondering. So yeah, that's about it on how to restring a stop bar tailpiece type guitar. Any questions on it? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Right, one more thing I forgot to mention. Like I said, these ones, the big strings, go around 1 1/2 times is plenty. The smaller strings, make it 2 1/2 times, because you don't want them sliding out of the tuner after you've clipped it, because that would suck. So 1 1/2 times for the big ones, and 2 1/2 times for the small ones, and you should be good. All right, thanks.